Well, hello there, everyone. Welcome to another edition of live trading here on a Thursday, just afternoon, depending on your time zone. Welcome in. Jeffrey Nance here with you instead of your regular host, David Verbruggen. We are going to go out there and look at some potential trading opportunities. So, if you guys want to take advantage of that, go ahead and drop those ticker symbols over into the Q&A button here or the chat feature or whatever is available there for you. And we'll begin to look at some of those. Let me go ahead and bring the chart up. There it is. All right, so we will get a sense here of what you guys are looking at. And again, I've brought up my screen here where I can see both of them simultaneously there. So if you have ticker symbols you want us to consider, just drop those over there into the chat and we will work our way through those. Obviously, this week has been, quite the week. Um, the downgrade obviously sent the market tumbling, but is that really that surprising? Well, the answer is no. We were at resistance and the market fell at resistance. I mean, that's that's actually the most likely scenario at resistance. Now, at times, could it float? It can. It looked like I thought it was going to do that this week. In fact, I really do believe if the news hadn't come out of that downgrade on our debt, that the market would have floated again this week. That we would have had the market just kind of floating up around resistance, still using the 5 day support, and then that resistance line that we have drawn as resistance. So I think that's where we would have been. In fact, there was some positive economic news that came out the same day as the downgrade, but of course the downgrade was just too significant for the market to overcome that at resistance, and so we fell quite a bit there. And again, that does make sense. So the question today, and you guys can kind of see here on the chart, well, what's going on now? So we had this really strong previous resistance line. Well, we broke through that. We broke through the 20-day. What? Well, that's pretty negative, isn't it? Or are we just going to drop down to the 50-day? That could have been. I was kind of looking at this 44.50 area thinking, well, I don't know that we'll get past that. But it started to kind of pivot and slow down and then turn. And so that's where we are now. You can see that we opened at 44.95 and we've actually climbed up to 45.20. And we're near the highs right now. It's just continuing to climb here, which is kind of weird because now we're right back or trying to get back on top of the 20-day, 45, we'll call it 16. And so technically we're back above the 20-day. So now you're in this weird spot where you go, well, do I go, bearish or bullish or what am I supposed to do with things right now? There are a bunch of really, really nice bullish setups. In fact, we looked at several on Monday night. And, this week has been really kind of weird. And so I thought it might be good if you guys don't have ticker symbols for us for just to go back and look at some of these. So CROX is one that we looked at for a bearish position this week. And I'm going to zoom in here. And you can see that we looked at this on Monday night around 10, basically it was 108, and we thought it would fall to 103, and our low yesterday was 102.83. So from Monday night to Wednesday, that was a pretty amazing bearish trade setup. It's pretty fantastic. It worked extremely well. Well, you had a negative or bearish setup, and you got clearly bearish market tone, and this stock fell really, really well. TSM was another one we looked at on Monday nights. It was a great bearish setup, and this was Monday night. We thought it might drop to here, 97. Well, it did. It dropped to 97, and then at one point today was all the way down at 94.50. Now, obviously, it's recovering too. But guys, look, that was a pretty sweet setup there to basically take this thing from 99 down to 94.50, $95, and to make money off of that. It was a great opportunity. Again, you had all three legs aligned. You had a great bearish technical setup. You had what turned out to be bearish market tone. And so both of those bearish trades we looked at were pretty great this week. But then you had some really, really sweet bullish setups this week. So I think it's fair that we kind of look at all of these together and go, wow, here's a bullish setup. We played SYM as a flag. We wanted it to come down and hit the 5-day and move up from there. Sheesh. 54 up to 61. Touchdown. I mean, that's been amazing. We had two incredibly amazing bearish setups. We've got a bullish setup, and it's like crushed it, right? I mean, boom, 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 two bears, one bull. What? I mean, even a bullish flag with this kind of market tone, it's still working. You go, well, Jeffrey, man, I hear you, but what about that STM trade? Well, you like that one a lot. What happened to it? Not so good. Now, it could have been great, guys, especially on Tuesday. I would have done this trade 10 out of 10 times on Tuesday. It ended up getting killed. It ended up not working. But this setup right here, oh, yeah, you can give me that setup right there 10 out of 10 times. It didn't work. This time, you can see it dropped all the way down here to previous support. Now it's moving up off of that area. But our initial trade setup is blown up. It's terrible. It's not going to work at all. Well, that one didn't work. You say, well, Jeffrey, you really liked RCL too. I was a big fan of RCL. Thought it was going to be a great trade. In the right scenario, it could have been an amazing trade. It got actually below the support line. Now it's trying to go up some today, but it's not working great. No, it's not. But we were fighting the market tone. So it's not that surprising that our bullish trades are struggling a little bit. And yet you've got SYM, which is bullish trade. It's a flag, and it's amazing. Our bearish trades, incredible. Some bullish trades. One of them's looking pretty great. Two of the others are looking pretty terrible. And that's, that's why trading can be easy and very hard at the same time. Which one is it, Jeffrey? Is it easy or very hard? Well, if you went with TSM and did a bearish trade this week, you're like, man, I killed it. If you went with Crocs and did a bearish trade this week, you're like, I crushed it. You went bullish on SYM, you're like, I'm in good shape, looking good. You went bullish on STM or RCL, you're like, these aren't very good. Man, we talked about all of them on the same webinar. So trading is always individualistic because you can look at it and say, well, market tone matters a lot. So generally speaking, if I would have known we were going to get, bearish market tone, I probably would have put, Crocs higher up our list. TSM still made our top 3, but I would have included more bearish trade setups. We looked at TSM on our debit spread, but it didn't make our top 3. I'd like a do-over on that. That would have been nice. But guys, listen, I mean, that's trading. And then that may sound very simplistic to say, but that is the reality that, you want to get market tone right. You don't want to be fighting market tone. Some trades, SYM, are strong enough to fight market tone. Some others, RCL, maybe not. Maybe not so much. STM, definitely not. Definitely not. Market tone killed it. Crushed it. Just totally ruined it. So, as you think through your trading, you have to understand that I don't want to ever take such a simplistic approach that I only look at 1 week and then I try to make a determination as to how my trading is going to go or whether or not I'm going to listen to this guy and his suggestions from, 1 week to the next when you take such a small sample size. So if we were to go out there and do a science experiment, we wouldn't just do it 1 time or 2 or 3 times and be like, yeah, that's enough. That's pretty good. the whole idea is that you test the same criteria over and over again. You switch up some variables here and there to see, well, how often does it work? And I'm not convinced RCL isn't going to work. If market tone ends up being positive tomorrow and that the reaction to the downgrade is kind of over, I'm not convinced it won't work. Now, it may move out into next week, which isn't going to help us for a debit spread if we did a weekly, which we should have. That doesn't mean that thing won't recover. It still could. SYM is still great, So that's where it gets a little difficult because you've got some combination of things that are really good. Look at Schwab. So Schwab was a debit spread pick that we had, and it's fine. It's fine. Schwab is doing fine. It's a bullish trade in a bearish market. No, it's fine. It's doing well. It's fighting the market. It's good. Oh, man. All right. Okay, interesting. RCL we already looked at. What about Kohl's, KSS? What was that one doing? Crushing. So our debit spreads were all bullish. Kohl's, KSS, Schwab, and RCL. And the market took a significant dive. And because of the setup, because of how good those trade setups were, they're still working. That's crazy. That's amazing, isn't it, guys? I mean, come on. That's fantastic. Well, what does that mean for me then as a trader? So we're here at this live trading and you're kind of walking through some trades that you guys did this week. And maybe I had access to that. Maybe I didn't. But certainly we have made an intentional priority to say you need to be involved in Monday night study groups. And this is a pretty great example of that. We had some bearish trades that absolutely crushed it this week. We had some bullish trades that were pretty amazing too, surprisingly enough. Like that's kind of surprising, right? What in the world? You're fighting the market? Yeah, we fight in the market. But they're still doing great because the patterns were so strong. They were able to fight off negative market tone this week. That's fantastic. So we want you guys to continue to say, okay, well, what are the types of trades I ought to be looking at? And then you go into it and go, look, every trade I make is not going to be profitable. That's just not even reasonable to even consider that. No quarterback thinks that I'm going to go into a game and complete every pass. But if I don't, it's a failure. No batter goes, if I don't get a hit every time I go up to the plate, today was a failure. No, it doesn't work that way. So it's kind of weird that we do take that approach with trading where we think, man, if every trade I do doesn't work, well, something's wrong. Why? Let's just get more right than not, or let's end up with a positive trading account at the end of the month, at the end of a quarter, at the end of half a year, at the end of the full year. Like that's what we want to see, not whether or not, this one trade. Always evaluate stuff because you can always improve. But what I would say to you guys is this week is a great week for us to really ponder some things. I know I want all three legs. I want fundamentals, technicals, and market tone. We know that fundamentals is the one that we can kind of say, that's fine. Let me just use something that's on a list that's already provided for me. Then it really comes down to market tone. I want to be aligned with market tone more often than not. And then I want my technicals to be solid so that I can see this is what I ought to be doing and when. And then ideally we would have market tone do what we thought, and then our stock would do what we thought. And then we would be like, hey, this worked out really well. And then there might be times like this week where we go, man, I'm going to be in trouble. And turns out our stock is so strong that it fights the market tone. Now, I wouldn't anticipate that happening regularly. In fact, I would say what's probably not going to happen more often than not. But this week is great. I'm not sure who Rev JT is, but fantastic, Rev. Yeah. SYM is great. Fantastic. Good job. But somebody else is like, well, you did SYM. I did STM. Rev's having a good week. Somebody else is not having a good week. Guys, listen, I'm trying to be empathetic with you here to say, look, we want to kind of walk through the entire process and say, what is the process? Fundamentals, technicals, market tone. Let me find good, fundamentally enough sound stocks. I rarely look at fundamentals. I just assume the list is fine enough because for me, it doesn't really matter unless I'm going to be in a long-term position anyway. And then I go out there, understand market tone, and do the technical analysis. And that's what we did for these Monday night picks. So I'll walk through some of those with you. And I think it's a really cool study for us to just see the reality of, you know what, sometimes I get in trades and they work really well and sometimes I don't. So I want to assess that. I want to be aligned with market tone as much as possible. And even on a week like this, where I would say, guys, this week is a pretty tough week. See, for some of you guys, you haven't really seen a significant downturn in the market yet. So this is your first time to really be in bullish trades and have the market go against you. So for the first time, some of you guys have had to stop out of trades, and that feels weird. It feels awkward, and you're not real comfortable with it. But you need to be, because anytime you're fighting the market and your stock is following the market, then you need to get out of that trade. So if your stock isn't strong enough to go against the flow, market tone has changed, it's moving the opposite of what you thought, and your stock is following, you need to get out of that trade. You got to lose little. So that's not a bad thing if you experience that this week. It's a good thing as long as you do what you're supposed to. Now you got to evaluate, well, did I stop out when I was supposed to? If I stayed in, did I have sound reasoning, or was that just an emotional response? I just didn't want to lose money, and I thought, well, as soon as I get out, it's going to turn. Was it rational or irrational? Was there a reason for doing what you did? Did it make sense at the time? That's how you'd want to think through those things. So that's what we have for today, guys. Just a little bit of a look here at what we've been doing this week and some of the trades that we presented to you on Monday. So you get a chance to see what they did, how market tone impacted those stocks. And that's really good. So I would encourage all of you guys to continue to make Monday nights a big part of what you do. I mean, it's really important, right? It's a culmination of everything that we're trying to do. It's really getting you from a learning phase into an application phase, and ideally getting you into a profit making phase, which is, I think, all of our goals, so we can do something great with our profits to bless the Lord and bless those around us. So that's what we're doing here, guys. Appreciate you being on with us today. No real questions that we got to go through and look at today. Nobody entered any ticker symbols, so we'll go ahead and wrap this one up. As far as where you go this afternoon, I would be watching the S&P very closely. Does it continue to climb? Does it pick up steam? If so, what happens when it gets back here to this line? Does it stall out there? Or does it make its way all the way back up to the 5 and 10? Is it really going to try to climb from here? Is it going to try to get back in that range? If so, wow, it could go all the way up here. That's pretty great. So that's where we are. All right. So keep a close eye on that. We've got basically 2.5 hours until the market closes today. We do have some really big stocks that are reporting after hours. I initially thought that would be a catalyst for a potential move here, that the market might float, and that with some of the big stocks reporting today after hours, I think we have Apple and Amazon. I'll make sure of that. Yeah, so Apple reports today. AMC here on Charts by Tradeway is after market close. They're heavily weighted in the S&P. So I think their reports, not just their report of how they did, but also their projections, I absolutely think that could have an impact on the market tomorrow. And then I believe Amazon also reports today, I think. Yep. See, AMC. Yep. AMC. So we got both Apple and Amazon, which are both heavily weighted in the indexes, reporting after market close today. So I do think that when you wake up in the morning, the market's going to be moving one direction or the other. And it probably is going to have something to do with Apple and Amazon and how their projections for next quarter play out today after the market closes. So that's a look at where things are headed, what you should be anticipating as you head into the afternoon hours of trading. Thank you guys for being on with us today, and we will see you next time.